RootsTech Ride Along. What a
Yes.
crazy idea. How do you let me do these things?
I think it's the other way
Robin!
around. You're
Did I mention another one I have? Hello there. Welcome, welcome. We can't always see who you are yet until you drop messages, but we know you're there. We're just making this up. And that's kind of the fun of what we do every day here in our little combination of sites. I had a little technical hiccup, but that's okay. It was a mere speed bump of about a minute or two. And I expect that trying to do an entirely live session across all of Roots Tech is going to be full of lots of little speed bumps because that's just how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But you, Robin, Robin Stewart of Genealogy Matters, and of course, my co-conspirator here in Mission Genealogy. What do you have planned now for this crazy trip off to Roots Tech?
Well, when I arrive in Salt Lake City, I'm going straight to the Family History Library.
Ooh, there
I
you
have to go to
go.
my room first, but it's I'm gonna get there tomorrow and I plan on doing some research and then every chance I get in between, I just gonna do research.
Very
I
cool. Do
it's
you
my
have like there's so much to plan for between what events to be sure to see and the booth and so on. Do you how do you even begin to plan this kind of thing?
as far as going to RootsTech.
How do you be sure you got everything done that you wanted to do? The minutes that you're in the library, the minutes that you're on the show
Oh,
floor, the minutes that you have to talk to people live. How do you
I
plan for that?
I don't really know. I I have
Robin, Robin,
I have
you
I
are my go-to. You're my sensei. You're my teacher.
I am relying heavily on my Notion app, that's for sure. I have, my to-dos and I have my schedule. I actually put my schedule for Roots Tech on my Notion calendar so I can easily access it, and then, um, I don't know, I'm a little overwhelmed today, to be honest.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on a spot.
I'm I'm so excited to go. I was just packing a few minutes ago and I'm just trying to collect all the things, the uh, gadgets that I need to bring with me
Yeah,
because I don't usually bring this many gadgets. So
yeah.
wish me luck
I,
on
I
that one.
a while ago, we've traveled a couple of times. I don't have a laptop. I have a desktop and then I have an iPad. And I've learned I can take my keyboard with my iPad and have some sense of normalcy. But I know I get so uncomfortable when I'm outside of my home base, my chair.
Yeah,
And it just is so unnerving to not have everything. I made a little list that I keep in the computer bag of all the things that this charger and that charger and
right.
the cables and
So
yeah,
many. Yeah,
so
but
many.
that's fine. I can handle that. I'm just really happy and excited to be going to Roots Tech. I think this is my first time, and
Oh,
I mean, I've done the online before, but going there, I'm just excited about the people I'm going to see, the people I'm going to meet, the one I'm going to be able to see online. I I know you remember that I made my dream playlist, so I've got that to work from, and I I don't know, and going on the expo floor, I'm excited about that. I want to see what's new and exciting, and
on
I've got
behalf of vendors everywhere, I spent a few years. Um, I always find that the big booths, the ones that pay the big bucks, like 50, $100,000 for the privilege of being there, and then they spend 50, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million to build out these booths
yeah.
and the giveaways and all that stuff that they're doing and investing in. the success of the show. They're measuring their success at the show by how many people give them their email addresses, or, let them scan their badges or play their games or whatever else. Um, and do them a solid. But you can also do the, hey, here's an insider tip many people may not know.
Yeah.
If you a more recent part of the SMTP specification that defines how email works and why all email systems talk to each other, which is a technical challenge. There's a nifty feature that is certainly part of Gmail and most modern systems, not everyone, is that you can take your email address, like Project Kin, and put a plus after it, and then any string you want, as long as they're valid words like RootsTech 2025 at, and then gmail.com or whatever your at.com is. So your username plus some string of letters at the your domain, and when that email comes in, it comes straight to your regular email. It ignores whatever the string was, but the nifty bit is that you can filter on those, or when you do a search, you do a search on those. So all of those vendors that send you stuff afterwards, you can see that they all get grouped together. And most importantly, you can see who's selling your name, because if they sell your name and it says RootsTech 2025, you know, you could get so fancy as to put in a string that is specific to the vendor, but let's
Yeah.
face it, that's a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But you can see who's been selling, that people have been selling your name or not. And you can be looking, oh yeah, I sent you that game or whatever it was, and see what
Yeah.
address it came into. It's better than using completely different accounts, things like that. But also, when you go and visit the smaller vendors, the guys that have the little 10 by 10s,
Mhm.
and, it's a husband and wife, it's a mother and daughter, it's a father and kid. It's like, I don't know, especially RootsTech is so full of those. You'll
Mhm.
find a lot of, maybe they're making genealogy charts or something like that. You'll be sure and tell them all about Substack, on it's this cool new thing.
I will.
Family
And
history
and
is
I'll tell
rocking
them
it.
Barb sent me.
Yeah, tell them Barb sent you. Look at their badge and say, hey, your mom sent me. Oh, well, I think there's an evening, right? The Thursday evening, they're doing a special thing in the expo hall where they have no events, no concurrent events. Um, if not the Thursday evening, then the Friday evening. We
I
will know,
I
because we're
can't
going to
tell you
do a
off the top
bunch
of my
of
head.
this series. So why don't we first talk a little bit about the ride along all week?
Yeah, that's gonna
Want
be
me to do that?
fun. So
So,
you want me to
I will. Yeah,
I'll give you
you do
my
your
end of
part.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, I'm gonna be there along with, Lori Olson White and Kyla Bayang and Tammy Mize, and then there will be a whole bunch of folks, who are online, and we're all kinda coming together on these lives, and I mean, not all at once, but we're gonna be just connecting with you and everybody who is willing to listen to us and kind of tell them kind of play by play what's going on with us, what we're experiencing, what really, for me at least, what floated my boat, um, and things like that.
Well, we're doing, I do these live programs every Sunday, which I thought was way overkill and would be crazy to do so many. And then it's actually worked out really well since
Yeah.
January. And I get to then circulate a recording of what it was. But applying that now to Roots Tech, first of all, there's no Roots live session tomorrow for Project Kin, because we're doing this today. And
Right.
then, because you're traveling on Sunday, Monday forward, you and our hardy gang on site are going to be able to do these live sessions each
Hmm.
day of the show. We have the first 3 sessions at 1:30 Pacific, 2:30 Mountain, where the show is actually happening, 4:30 Eastern. And we timed this. Hello, Australia, New Zealand, hello,
Hmm.
Europe. We timed it in such a way that we were to do it one time a day. we had to split the difference, and unfortunately, it's very late in Europe and very early in Asia Pac. But at least we were able to bring everybody into the same event at the same time. And so for the first three events, will be at 1:30, and then the second three events on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday during the show, we're
Mhm.
actually doing two events. That way, we have one in the morning, which will fall at 10:30. 10:30 of mountain time, just before the first session of the day or second session of the day. Probably second. It
It's
probably
just
starts at
before the
8 and then
first
11.
it's
Yeah,
the before the first keynote.
before the first keynote.
Yeah.
So the uh switching time zones here. The
Yeah.
9:30 Pacific, 10:30 mountain time, and then 3:30 mountain time in the afternoon gives us again a chance. That may be a little hard for our friends in Europe to tune into, but we're circulating things in recordings. And speaking of recordings, I know I don't want to task everybody with, I've got a lot of emails coming out already. So I will combine emails for those three show days into one email for the day, which makes me your video editor of the day.
Yes.
But while I'm doing that, I'm just crazy enough to have shared with all of you on the show floor and all of you who have signed up to be on this ride along a chance to send me videos, send me screenshots, send me commentary that you want to be included in the daily update from the show. I hope that makes it a little less chaotic for messages flying around, but also lets us share the context and share the joy and share the experience, that we can talk about what happened the day before and what we now know. I'm also thinking, and I'm sorry, but this may be a little work for all of you on the show floor, but, if there is something that says, "Hey, I heard that the Mayflower Society now has learned of a new cache of records. Is that really true?" Because there's nobody there at the I'm making this up, just to be clear. Um, there's nobody there to answer my call, but there should be somebody at their booth. "Oh," says Lori. I'll pop by and say hello at their booth and ask that question for you.
Yeah.
And, she could even record their answer. We can drop it in. You get the idea. Thank you, Lori, for being a part of my little equation here. But I think it'll create a way that we can have this back and forth, because I
Mhm.
know, I guess I'm reliving the last experience, all those years of doing Roots Tech remotely, where it was first the trauma of COVID, which I think we all experienced in one form or another. Then, as a vendor going through my own stuff remotely, it's always felt so um, disconnected. And I just wanted to create a way that's connected.
Mhm.
And, you and I, we've actually met once.
We have.
And now we have a way, we are so much in communication every day that I forget that we've only met once.
It
And I
doesn't feel like
now know, no, it doesn't feel that way at all. In fact, all of you, between Mission Genealogy and Project
Mhm.
Kin for Me and you and Genealogy Matters and your coterie, you feel this cohesion and connection that I think is kind of what it's all about, to create these
Yeah.
experiences. And I don't care about platforms. I do care about the best possible way to
Mhm.
use the technology capabilities that we have to get the most out of them, because it's not about them, it's about us.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. I agree.
yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure how that we may have a technical issue that I just introduced today with our ambition. So if you are watching this as a recording and frustrated that you couldn't get in to join the session, that's on me. And I think what happened, maybe I can go solve the problem first and then come back and tell you what it was. But essentially, it boils down to my attempt to hide information from the platform and not give it more than it needs to know. And then it caught me just as I was about to go online. So I'll go figure it out and get it set up. The core thing here is that, though this session is being issued by Project Kin and also cross shared to Mission Genealogy, and we will collaborate on the back end to make sure that you can get it out as part of Genealogy Matters.
Mhm.
Going forward, the goal is to be have the recordings and the programs launched from within Mission Genealogy and then cross posted to the other sites. You can always cross post something from someone else. There's a few interesting things about it from within Substack that are pretty nitnoid, but it really comes to, that is to say, detailed and maybe not terribly significant and relevant. The important thing is to know that when you share materials to your audience, it's something that they care about and not more than they want. So we're always learning and exploring and experimenting. That's part of what we do with our little office hours with
Mhm.
Mission Genealogy. And now we have so many wonderful new, well established voices in genealogy, like Mert with her Dear Myrtle Archives, who's now coming in and has done a series of little training programs for creators and followers, which I thought was very interesting. And I love to see all these different voices joining in to share these stories and support and create this community. I'm not very tolerant of things that go negative. And so we're going to do everything we can to keep things positive, and especially as we start looking back into history and the parallels of history and anniversaries of history and you know, collaborations of family. It's fun to see. We're already finding with relatives at Roots Tech.
Mhm.
How are you doing in there? Are you finding people? Are they responding?
I have found people who I connect with, probably like about 5 that like you're one of them, but um there's a bunch that I, I don't know who they are, but maybe I'll run into them. I don't know.
I must say that's a good point. I of the Project Kin Mission Genealogy members that I know have shared their relatives at Roots Tech name, which is really what is your name you're registered with at Roots Tech. Um, I think like all but one are some kind of cousin.
Mhm.
Most are 10th, 11th, 12th cousins, but they are cousins. I have
Yeah.
one that's an eighth, which is pretty amazing. You can find me at Barbara TN. And all of you, feel free to drop your names into this. This is a separate name from what your Substack name is and doesn't have to be your real name. Um, it does have to be a unique name within the Roots Tech registration system. And I admit that in the first days of Roots Tech, when I was representing Ponga, I was very suspicious of this, and I really didn't want to be revealing all of that stuff in there. Then, frankly, I stopped to think about it and realized what I'm sharing is what is on Family Search, so
Yeah.
it is already public. Me, the me, the live, real person. Am I comfortable owning up to that? Is a valid question, and I think it's
Yeah.
completely fine if people do not wanna do that, do not wanna share that, or wanna use a name that's completely unrelated to themselves personally.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I would love to know the delicate art of, how to get others to engage when you find I have a 3rd cousin, which is pretty doggone close,
That's
and,
great.
last year, she expressed all this interest in connecting over an ancestor who was, in Virginia, actually, then Virginia, now West Virginia, in a part of the country that fought in the Revolutionary War out in the hinterlands. I mean, what stories, right?
Yeah.
My ancestor I know was a so-called Indian scout, which I think meant collaborating with native peoples in those areas to sabotage and undo the British forces.
Yeah.
Um, and so this cousin, 3rd cousin, turned up on Family Search, who was related to the same ancestors. And I don't have a lot about them, but I'd love to know what she's got.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
So
cool thing. You learn so much when you connect with them. I have
yeah,
I have a my 2 times great grandfather. There's a cousin named Susan who had these amazing photographs that was, I think, from 1915 or something like that. and I never would have seen them if she hadn't shared them. And so our being able to connect online, was
Yeah.
a game changer for me.
I have, I guess a cousin, somebody posted some pictures as a PDF on Ancestry, that are photographs from my two ex great grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary in
Mhm,
1912 or something.
mhm,
And I have one fabulous cabinet card. It's like an 8 by 10, a gigantic cabinet card. And you can see the outfits they're wearing. But that's all I have. I now know who it was. There's one question I have is who is in the picture in the back of the painting, the back of the photograph. But on Ancestry, I found a collection. There's a massive picture of everybody who was at the party, and I can go
uh-huh,
through and name who everybody was. I have my picture. They don't have my picture on that list, but clearly it was the same occasion because it describes the occasion and I can see by the clothes. They
mhm,
don't answer me. And I hear that story all the time. I'm
mhm.
just hoping it's something like through the separation of powers, that is a family search kind of site, that there's a way to contact and connect with those kinds of people and descendants, in this case of Ezekiel Ross Jaques and Emma Elizabeth, no, Mary Searing, was the couple for their
Mm,
50th wedding anniversary in
cool.
1912 or something. So anyway, that's what it's all about. That's what
Yeah.
these family events are all about. So let's not overdo. Keep these events nice and short and tight. I'll go figure out what technical mistake I made. And all of you watching this on a video, I apologize. I'll figure it out. And if anything, this was our dry run to get serious for next week. So thank you so much for doing it. You have yourself a wonderful trip and stay safe.
I will.
Stay healthy because it is very dry and very cold, and it is an altitude, and you're going to be exhausted if it were at a beach. So take care of yourself and have most of all have a good time.
Thank you so much. Well, I will be seeing you on here very soon.
Okay,
All
gotcha.
right.
Take care
Thanks.
now.
You too.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.